special guest here today, Rob Grimes, founder and CEO of IFBTA, also the founder of FS Tech, one of the top conferences in the world around food and beverage technology. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
That's great. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rob, it'd just be great to let the audience know, get a little bit more about your background, how you got into the food space, why you came about FS Tech, and then hear a little bit about IFBTA.
So first of all, very similar to your background. I would tell people that I'm a restaurant manager who happens to be in technology. So I went to hotel restaurant school, but I went there because I wanted to be in restaurants. And so I started my career working in restaurants, Bob's Big Boy, Roy Rogers, and then those were both parts of Marriott Corporation those days. And I ended up taking a job in Marriott Hotels, and from there somebody asked me to do a systems project. And so I did, and the interesting thing about it was I was supposed to spend 6 months at Marriott headquarters, and then I was going to go back out in the field as a restaurant manager instead of assistant restaurant manager. And the personal computer came out while I was there.
Really?
And because it came out, you didn't have to know how to program to be in technology. So I took over all point of sale for Marriott globally. And in those days, not only did they have the restaurants, they had what's now Sodexo, they had what's now HMS Host, we had a cruise ship line, we had theme parks. A lot of different things. Wow. And so I did point of sale worldwide, which is how I learned technology.
Do they use digital or IBM or?
No, the NCR, things Documenter. There's some systems that are long not around anymore. Micros in the early days, which was a $3 million company in those days, and today they're part of Oracle, and I think they're about $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
So, so that's actually how I learned it, and I still, work in technology, but I still can't program, and but I'm really more of a functional kind of person. I left Marriott, started a number of different things. The first thing I started was a technology training and support company to do rollouts for systems, grew it to about 1,000 people globally that did property management systems and point of sale on a white label basis, so I've never sold systems. Started FS Tech, started a consulting company, started 6 shows outside the US called Host Tech, which was hotel and restaurant technology. So anyway, long-winded answer, but my whole career is in food and beverage technology, sort of married the two things I really liked, which was the operations side with technology.
That's awesome. And then the IFBTA, more recently.
So I sold FS Tech 6 years ago and had this idea to start a not-for-profit trade association with chapters, giving people, especially in the small to medium businesses, the opportunity to get together. And so the IFBTA today has 12 chapters, including London and in Vancouver. And those chapters meet on a quarterly basis, and people talk technology. Suppliers belong as well as operators. There's a New England chapter that just started where you're at.
Yeah.
But there's no sales, and really there are different subjects that are voted on. We do white papers, and we introduced an industry certification program this year. I'd call it a 101 level course that teaches somebody on everything in food and beverage technologies, from payments to drive-thrus to kiosks to online ordering, whatever it might be.
So that's interesting. You have a unique cross-section across the U.S. and globally. What are you kind of hearing, because you get directly boots on the street, right? We know salespeople there, it's all operators. What are they finding the biggest pain points in the industry that they're trying to solve or that you see happening today?
I think that it depends on the cycle of economies around the world. So I used to tell people that technology does really well in the restaurant sector or the food and beverage sector in a bad economy because people are looking to save money. And save money, by the way, could be reducing labor or food or whatever it might be.
Right.
And in a good economy, which we have now, they're looking at how to do it to increase revenue. So that's when you'll start to see investment in anything that's mobile, that's increasing sales. Delivery picked up now. Delivery might not have actually made it in a bad economy because people, there can be a 30% uplift on that. So somebody has to pay that. So in a bad economy, people might forgo the delivery and actually go back, right? So it's all a matter of cycles, and so technology sort of works in cycles, and the spending patterns, go along the same way.
That's interesting. And then where do you think it's going to be in 3 years from now or 5 years from now? What do you think hospitality is going to be like from a technology standpoint? What do you think the new technology is going to be that kind of changes the industry or might upend the industry?
Well, so first of all, there's nothing that's ever invented in this industry. So you have to look at other allied industries that are peripheral. So you look at the travel industry, you look at retail industry, you look at the hotel industry, and you start to find what the trends are. For me, I spend a lot of time taking a look at the consumer technology industry. I spend time at CES and things like that. And the reason why I do that is because it's very hard to get food and beverage people to invest in technology sometimes. It's different if you're investing in a new oven or a fryer or something. People understand that. But when you're saying, you want to invest in, and franchisees can be a problem with franchisors. So if you want to bring the cost down, what you need to do is work with generic technologies. So anything that goes consumer, like handhelds or wearables or anything like that, the cost comes down, and so you no longer have to focus on those ends of it. And so what I like to do is take a look at where the consumer trends are going, and then go ahead and say, okay, how do we take that trend, and how do we go ahead and adopt whatever that new technology is that's going to get widespread use, lower cost, right? And then how can we make it work within our industry? And so things like wearables have things like that, which are just like watches and glasses and things like that. There's any kind of health technologies like the measurement in calorie and things like that, which are very big right now. Because if you think about CES, you've got different sections. So you got the wearables, you got the health and fitness areas, you've got the home security areas. So anything that's Internet of Things and home security might be an area. And so I look at it exactly like that. Then you can talk about things like robotics, or you could talk about drones. Drones are toys. I don't actually think that the drones, that they were showing, deliver the box, coming down. However, when you see a drone, like the police drones that they ride on in Dubai for $150,000, it looks like a motorcycle, but it's got a set. Now that I do actually see as a way to do delivery, and that to me makes some sense. When you see autonomous vehicles, which are very big, and you consider the delivery of that, when you consider autonomously, because the problem with delivery is the cost of the labor. That's what brings up the 30%, right? So if you go to autonomous vehicles and you're able to deliver and you're able to do hot and cold and take care of quality standards, actually the cost will come down, right? But that's a consumer technology that's bringing the cost down. So there's any number of things. In 3 to 5 years, I do think the autonomous vehicles will definitely be there. More wearable technologies that are doing wireless, so that we're no longer losing kitchen displays and we're not doing things like that. There's any number of different types of consumer types of devices. I do think that we're headed for bring your own device. So we will see, look, we're already telling the customer to bring their own device and do their own online ordering. And I was talking to a guy here at this event that's talking about doing that in the restaurants. He wants to set up concept lab restaurants where there are servers who bring it out to you, but you order on your own. Not a tableside kiosk, but actually your own phone device. So I think we're headed that way for employees and for servers and people.
That's interesting. And do you see different trends from the different demographics across the United States from the chapters? Do you see the Northeast versus Southwest, or do you see different aspects or different trends or different restaurateurs thinking about technology in different ways? Or
I wouldn't think of it that way. I don't see that like in the U.S. From a geographic standpoint. Delivery is all over the place, but they think it's something new here. And yet if you go to India or you go to Dubai or something, delivery's been out there for 10 years, 15 years, big time, right? And the technologies behind it come from those parts of the world. So it's probably more a geography as it relates to international geography than it is, in this specific area.
And what do you think certain restaurateurs should think about that you don't think they are? If I'm a restaurateur and I own a couple concepts or a number of concepts, what should I think about today?
Well, so there's a number of things. So first of all, today's environment, technology is an enabler. So I'm not one, because of my operations background, I'm not one to say that you develop stuff for technology's sake, right? Or you have a great technology and let's figure out how to use it, right? So it's an enabler, and I recognize that. But at the end of the day, it allows us to compete. So a single unit pizza restaurant or the deli that your family has is able to compete with the big chains because they're able to market better, they're able to get their message out, they're able to use the same kinds of solutions that are maybe cloud-based solutions that are connected to other things. They can get as much data as the big guys can today. And so that makes it very easy to compete for market share and for eyeball time. Well, eyeball time's sort of an old thing, but it makes it much easier to compete on that space. So if I'm taking a look at technology today and I'm a smaller person, I'm going to look at anything cloud-based because it opens up the connectivity to other types of things that I might want to integrate with, and it opens up the world to me to be able to find me, to be able to place orders and do things like that. So I'd invest nothing on-prem. I would do all cloud-based, and I would be doing anything that has consumer connections on them.
And what about like if you're fast casual, QSR versus fine dining? Is there a difference in terms of how you should look at these technology aspects, or would you say no, restaurants?
Well, so first of all, there's the base technologies that are different in each one of those. So for instance, fine dining doesn't have drive-through. They may or may not have kitchen displays, although a lot of them do have kitchen displays today. They're not going to have certain things. They're probably going to have a more robust, they're going to have reservation systems that the other guys are not going to have, right? They might have, so the technologies are slightly different, and that's why you will see industry vertical specific technologies, and you have to integrate with other technologies depending upon which space you're in. So I think it really makes a difference, and most of the vendors can't do all of it. As far as levels of service are concerned, we will start to see more and more handheld technology being used at tableside. Now, it may be hidden in fine dining, but of course fine dining swore for years that they would never use anything but a paper tablet to take an order on, and that's just not the case today. But I believe that the idea of walking to a terminal, a preset terminal, is going to go away. So we'll see a lot more technology like that. We see the consumers in fine dining even connecting to loyalty systems and wine programs. People do like to use, sometimes they'll use tablet technology for the menu. I'm like so on that, because most of the tablets today, if they're doing wine lists, are not connected to the point of sale, which I never actually completely got that one, that they were there. Yeah, I just don't understand. They were obviously technologies developed in silos, which was a little bit of
That's the point, though. The integrations are really important if you're an operator, right? You want to make sure that the technology you use can be integrated with the other technologies that you use.
The problem that you have is everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean the big guys and the little guys, everybody selects systems in silos. They don't look at it holistically as to where it needs to be today, what it needs to be connected with, and what is it going to be connected, let's say 3 years, because anything past 3 years is a little bit too far out right now. So today I need an online ordering system. So you go buy an online ordering system, and you don't think about what it's going to have to work with in the future. They're just not thinking ahead like that. And so everybody does that. The small guys do and the big guys do. The smaller guys, it depends, if they're an independent and they're working in their unit, they may be focused more on the menu than they're focused on the operation. You can just sort of see, how it is and how they're selecting their systems. And it's sort of like with food. People buy with their eyes. So sometimes they pick systems just because they look visually appealing, but they may not be functional, or they're missing parts of it. I want a handheld terminal, or I want a tablet. Great, but the tablets don't necessarily come with peripherals on it. So if you need scanning, or if you need to have printing, or you need to go to, or you need a back office system, half the tablet systems out there don't have back office. So now you're out doing your own thing. So they just don't think that way.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Half the technologies that are shown in the movies today do not exist in reality. But because somebody gets that picture of what it is, they create for it. So if you think about Star Trek and you think about a tricorder, the flip phone became the Motorola flip phone. So if I were to really think about something that I think will happen, I do believe that we will have virtual operations, number one, and a virtual operation still needs to have a person. They did it. They've done studies with robots, and they found that having a real face on a robot scares people, which they did try, not like a real face, but a screen with a person. So that's why you see a lot of these robots that are coming out of Asia actually have cartoon-like kinds of faces, because it, for whatever reason, doesn't scare people. But I do think we're headed for holograms, where a person will be there in front of you and preparing stuff, but they're not really there. And I think we're going to see that for sports and entertainment, where you go to centers to watch a football game and you're in a totally different city, but it's all in front of you as if it was right there. So I think that kind of technology, we're going to start to see virtual operations.
We're here in Arizona right now, and if I want to watch my Red Sox play, I could just go somewhere and watch them play.
You would go to a stadium. So I heard the owner of the Caps and the Wizards, who was one of the main guys at AOL, big tech investor. And I interviewed him on a stage a few years ago, and we talked about this. And he said what he wants to do is find a way to get the Caps and Wizards out to the local markets where people have the same experience as if they're in the stadium, but they're not. And the way you're going to do that is going to be through some sort of hologram or 3D displays, or virtual realities actually coming out there, and gaming is big. So you will have that experience, but you won't actually be there. So then the real question is, okay, so I can create the environment. How do I create the food? Well, if you take a look at simple technologies, by the way, been around for 30 years, like sous vide cooking, which is all of a sudden it's CES to do in the home.
Yeah.
But that's over 30 years old. So professional cooking, fine dining restaurants, you don't know that it in fact was frozen or whatever. You wouldn't know, right?
Yeah.
To 3D printing of food. I think we are absolutely headed there. Pizza's probably first. Vending machines that have these types of things in it. Robotics that can prepare food. So I think we're going to start seeing, we're not going to see the traditional, we will still have traditional places we go, but we will see non-traditional places that you can go ahead and have the same dining experience because of that.
Really interesting.
By the way, there are some hotels in Japan that actually do hologram front desk people. There's a hotel there that does that today, and there's been some restaurants that have tried it, with robots and things as well to deliver. So they want to keep the personal touch, but in reality, the person's not there.
It's interesting. Last question. Favorite food item? What's your go-to?
Well, I don't know. It's sort of hard to say. I'm a big steak eater, but it's just because I happen to like steaks. A good steak somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's probably not very. You know what? So you have your foods that you eat on the road.
Yeah.
It sits on the road all the time. There's nothing like getting a great hot dog on Amtrak. I don't know why that is, and why a hot dog on Amtrak tastes better than a hot dog somewhere else, right? No, well, they do, but they're serving Hebrew nationals. But for some reason, it tastes different on Amtrak.
Right.
You know what it is? I actually do know what it is. Because if you go to New York and you see all the hot dog vendors, there's nothing like getting a hot dog on the street. It's like getting a Philly pretzel that doesn't have exhaust fumes on it because it's not being served on the corner.
Awesome. Bro, I appreciate it. This is unbelievable. I think you're going to love this, and I really appreciate it.
Great. Hey, no, pleasure.
Awesome.
Great. Welcome to,